Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and today we're going to be looking at Hammershots. This video is going to be part review, part diagnostic and repair, part Monday mod tips, part science. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on in here. But we're going to be looking at Hammershots, specifically modded Hammershots in various different configurations. I've got my Gavin Fuzzy one with the metal kit. That's going to be kind of the a baseline. I'm also going to see what more I could possibly do to that one. I have one that's got a cylinder that I believe I 3D printed. I may have actually bought this one, but there are a number of 7-round cylinders and 8-round cylinders available on Thingiverse. I have not had a whole lot of luck printing them in the past because I didn't know how to dial in my printers, but I've gotten a little bit better at that. And then we have one here, and this is the one that's part review because I bought several of these cylinders from one of my subscribers, and I've been waiting for the opportunity to finally put them through their paces to see whether or not I want to recommend them to you guys. So I'm not going to tell you who it came from until the end. If they perform well, then I'll let you know who it was, and if they don't, I will let him know what went wrong, and hopefully he can tweak them a little bit. But we are going to be trying a couple of other cylinders. We got ones that I got from Out of Darts, which appears to be the same one that one is. We've got one that I know I printed off online, and we've got another one of the new one, but I bored out the barrels slightly. The dart fit was a little too snug when they first came to me, so I bored this one out with a 1/2-inch drill bit, and the darts seem to fit a lot better, but we'll see what that does to performance. We then have a variety of different springs. I have some 8-kilogram springs that I got from NF Strike. I ordered 10-kilogram ones in a different order, but that order got rejected at the border because I also ordered a lipo. I've got these beefy printer shock absorbing springs that was sent to me by a fan that he says if coupled with a stock spring will fit, and that was the one that was getting 100 FPS, so I'm hoping those turn out well. I unfortunately don't have a source for those. I also will probably be using some Hillman. I believe it's Hillman 68. At least one of these probably already has this in there. The advantage of that is, of course, it comes in a long coil, and you can cut it down to whatever length you want, which means one spring will get you a couple of blasters worth. Decent performance there. And then this one, that I have no idea where it came from or what it is, but we're going to see what happens when we shove that into a blaster. But we're going to try as many different combinations. Obviously, I'm not going to try every one of them because that would be a lot of combinations, and I don't want to try that many. But we are going to see, definitely try this cylinder on stock, this cylinder bored out on stock, both of them on different ones, because that's really the focus, is these. We know the Gavin Fuzzies work well, we know these ones don't work well. This one's getting the diagnostic and repair because it should not be making that rattling noise, and it won't index at all. So I think the rotation mech broke. One of the downsides to the 3D printed cylinders, especially the 8-round ones, is they are a little bit snug, and the rotation mech is not terribly robust. So if the cylinder jams, like if you have a dart sticking partway out and it jams, and you try to prime it, you can break off that rotation mech, and as far as I know, there isn't an easy fix for that. I don't know if anyone has 3D printed that part on Thingiverse. I doubt it would print very well, but somebody might have. But that's something I would love to see somebody make a replacement for, is the rotation bar. Anyway, let's start taking these things apart because I'm going to be taking apart an obscene number of Hammershots today, and we might as well get started. I'm going to start by figuring out what spring is in this thing. Now, I chronoed a stock Hammershot coming in around 50. My metal trigger Gavin Fuzzy is coming in at 75. So whatever spring I have in there, it gave it a 50% increase. But I have, in fact, chronoed a Hammershot coming in at 100. And I'd like to get a few more up to that level, though the downside to that is that makes for a really heavy prime, which makes for a slow prime, which kind of defeats the point of a hammer-primed blaster. The beauty of it is you can easily prime them one-handed and do a wield, but if it takes you too long to prime it because of how heavy it is, that doesn't really give you that advantage so much anymore. Okay, so this does appear to have Hillman, or whatever this is. Pretty sure it was Hillman 68. If not, if somebody knows otherwise, let me know. Now, I'm not getting full compression on that, so you could hypothetically get a little bit more in there if you added pre-compression. Which this probably has a little bit of pre-compression, but doesn't look like it has a whole lot. Yeah, it has very little. So you could get a little bit more in there if you wanted, but I'm going to leave it where it is. Now, one thing I am going to do is I am going to file or sand this down a little bit. There's a little bit of flaring at the back end, which is the result of just the printing process. The weight of the filament as it gets put on tends to flare the very bottom. And I'm also going to probably sand out a little bit, or file out just a little bit of the inside of the shell, just to give it a little bit more space, because I don't want the cylinder rubbing against the shell and causing undue friction. I probably will need to replace the O-rings this seal, because they get worn down, especially by 3D printed cylinders, because they're not quite as smooth. They're a little bit rougher. They will wear down your seal, and then it won't seal as well, and that's going to cause some issues. The other thing that you can do to try to improve performance a little bit is obviously relubricate your blaster. There is a lot of gunk in this one, so I'm definitely going to open it up and clean it out and add some white lithium grease. Rotates beautifully now. Okay, so that is, let's mark that so I don't lose it. Okay, so there's the onboard 8 kg spring. We're now going to take a stock Hammershot and we're going to put the 8-round bored out spring in there. That one doesn't seem to fit at all. Alright, well here we have one of the Out of Darts cylinders. I don't know if he actually still sells them. On a stock spring, so we'll see what kind of performance that gets. This one also has that same cylinder, but it's not rotating at all, and there's something rattling inside, so I'm pretty sure the rotation mech is busted, which would be tragic, as I doubt I can repair it other than to simply replace the whole blaster. Though I think I might actually have a Hammershot with no cylinder. I may have already, I think that may be what I put my Mega in. Maybe. We'll see. Well, the good news is the problem is not what I thought it was. Because what I thought it was would not have been repairable. I thought the tab that the hammer indexed in order to rotate the cylinders was broken off. And it turns out that it was just the return spring on that had come off, which I replaced in the previous one anyway, because it wasn't wanting to return. Alright, replaced the return spring, a heavier return spring, which should hopefully alleviate any lingering rotation issues. Now, this one has a stock spring with a 3D printed spacer, which adds pre-compression, which does add some force. However, being constantly partially compressed will eventually wear out the spring and it will settle to whatever level it's at, and you will no longer have any advantage, but we'll see what it's performing at right now compared to the same cylinder on a stock spring with no pre-compression. Just make sure that the rotation mech is working again. Yes, it is. All right. We're gonna give this one a try. This is one that I believe I 3D printed at some point. Alright, so I have 6 various configurations here now. I've got the 8-round ones that I was sent on an 8 kilogram spring. I've got the 8th cylinder on Hillman 68. I've got the Gavin Fuzzy on... I'm not sure what's actually in there. I didn't recognize it, but it was the right length, so pretty sure I bought it from somewhere. I think it might have actually come with this kit. Yes, pretty sure it came with this kit. We've got the out-of-dart cylinder on stock. We've got the out-of-darts on cylinder on stock with a spacer, and then we've got the 3D printed one off of Thingiverse, which was having indexing issues, and probably still is. But we will see what kind of FPS we're getting out of these combinations. I may try a few more. I haven't put this ridiculously beefy one in anything yet. I probably should, but let's go get some numbers. Well, so far the only one that's giving me reliable improvement is the Gavin Fuzzy, which is getting 75 average. So 50% increase. And this is all, I was only using stock darts for all of this for consistency purposes, though that's not exactly a great test, but a lot of them were either didn't have enough power to even clear the barrels, which was the case with the these ones, the octagonal ones that I was sent. The barrel fit is too tight, and it's not able to clear the barrel at all. And that's why with these ones I drilled them out, just using a 1/2-inch drill bit to get them a little bit looser, but I think what I ended up doing was expanding the whole cylinder rather than drilling out material, and as a result they won't fit at all anymore. So that could be an issue. I'm going to try some heavier springs in the out of darts ones and see if I can't get some better performance out of those. So there's a stock spring and that printer coil spring. That is I understand is going to make for a mean prime, but it does fit, and I don't think it's going to bind up. Now let's see what else we can do to this. Well, that gave no improvement, so something ain't right. Alright, after much tinkering, I've managed to get the out-of-darts cylinders up to about the same that the Gavin Fuzzy is hitting. A little bit under, they're probably hitting closer to 70. But that is thoroughly acceptable for what I need. I ended up putting the 8K springs in them that I got from NF Strike. One of them already had the AR out, so I took the other AR out so that they would be matching. Replaced the seals, Teflon taped the O-ring, re-lubricated it, and added a spring to the front of the cylinder that improves the seal. Still, they're rotating beautifully now, so there is a lovely matched set. They're not too heavy of a prime, so I like them. 7 rounds, which is nice. 8 is nicer, but these I can probably print myself if I really wanted to. So those aren't too bad. We're now gonna... I'm gonna try putting the 8K spring in a stock Hammershot, just a straight spring replacement, and see what kind of improvement that gets. I'm gonna go chrono this one again just to double check. Yeah, between 45 and 55 using random elite darts. Some of them are worn, some of them are fresh. So let's just throw an 8K spring in and see what that does to a stock Hammershot. Alright, well, just putting the 8K spring in and doing nothing else got this thing up to 70 to 80. So yeah, you're looking at a 50% increase on stock with just that spring. So it's actually hitting slightly better than these ones were on average. These were getting closer to 70, honestly. But they have more ammo. They hold 7 instead of 5. So they're still better than stock. Not as good as stock with just that spring. So, you know, it's kind of, where do you want to go? Just the 8K springs are like $3 a piece. So that is a really cheap and easy upgrade if you just want some more power. Now, that's nice. I'm now going to, just for the sake of curiosity, throw that heavy beast in here and see what that does with just adding that spring. That is fascinating. It's a very noticeably heavier draw and got poorer performance. So I'm thinking there is a point at which the heavier springs are clearly not advantageous anymore. And I'm not sure why that would be. I'm sure you all have theories, and I'd love to hear them in the comments. But I'm liking those 8K springs. There are also, I believe, 10 and 12K springs, and like I said, I thought I'd ordered 4 of the 10K springs, but they didn't get here in time because they got rejected at the border. So we're gonna take that back out. I'm gonna try just this beefy spring and see if maybe the issue is actually that they were binding up. I am absolutely curious how that guy got that other one up to 100 FPS, because I haven't gotten anywhere near that with pretty much the same modifications, though I was doing it with the 3D printed cylinders. Odd. Possibly improving the seal would help, because he had a stock cylinder, but AR removal, upgraded cylinder, upgraded seals, or not upgraded cylinder, improved the O-ring seal, improved the... So maybe I'll try all of that. So oddly enough, it performs better with just these heavier springs as compared to the heavier spring and the stock springs. So that is fascinating. Now it is hitting around 70. And isn't a heavy prime. You can hear that it's definitely hitting harder. Oh, this one has no AR. Why does this have no AR? Why do I have a stock Hammershot with no AR? And the posts drilled out. Well, that just invalidates everything. So the end results were not nearly as interesting or as impressive as I was really hoping they would be. These octagonal 8-round cylinders, neither of them worked. These ones are smaller, and the dart fit is so tight that I couldn't get any spring to actually reliably clear the cylinders. even when I tried boring them out, that didn't do anything but waste a lot of time. And these ones, where the dart fit is decent, are too large to even fit in blasters, and they will not rotate or even close the shell. So that was unfortunate. I'll need to talk to the designer of those and see what he has to say. This one that I printed off of Thingiverse, I never could get to rotate reliably, and I suspect that is because I printed the rotation mech at too low a resolution, and it's just snagging on stuff and just not playing nice. Dart fit was decent, and it's 7 round, and, you know, if you have I will probably try to print it at my highest resolution at some point to see if I can actually get it to play nice. The out of darts ones work great. They ended up having the 8 kilogram springs in them, padded plunger head, replaced the seal on the end of the plunger rod, added a little bit of Teflon tape to under the O-ring, re-lubricated them all, and increased the rotation mech return spring, and they now rotate reliably, and they all fire, while not hugely above stock performance. I was getting at least 70s, sometimes only in the 60s, but reliably so. So they are maybe a 30% improvement, I would say, to stock performance, but 2 extra rounds, and I have 4 of them, and they all have the same spring load and all of the same modifications, and they are seem to be fairly reliable. We'll see how they serve in the future. These 2 are stock, other than having that beefy spring that I was recently sent in fan mail, and the performance is a little bit better, but I'm not sure if it's enough better to justify the heavier prime. The 8 kilograms seemed to be a slightly lighter prime, and honestly had better performance. So I don't know if it's just the combination of all the other modifications that these have, or if these springs just aren't quite what I'm looking for. The Gavin Fuzzy is still by far the best. It's 8 rounds, it rotates reliably. It could use a little bit of shell work and a little bit of possibly filing to clean up the rotation a little bit. There's a few parts on the rotation where it binds just a little, and it'll sometimes hang up on the rotation, but it hasn't gotten me tagged yet as a result of it not chambering, so I'm okay with that. The spring came with the metal kit, and it is getting a solid 75 to 80, sometimes even higher performance. So you're looking at a 50% increase over stock with 3 extra rounds. So this one does, I think, still have its AR, but the Gavin Fuzzy cylinder negates it. I haven't improved the seal or the O-ring or re-lubricated it in a while because it's still performing just fine. So eventually that O-ring will probably give out and I will need to replace it, which shouldn't be too difficult. And I'm hoping when the 10-round cylinders get in, I'll test them in both these and stock blasters and see what kind of a performance I get out of them. But for now, if Out of Darts still sell these, I recommend them. If not, Gavin Fuzzy. They just work. I have 2 of them. I have that one that I ordered myself, and then he sent me a silver one that is in my my Hammershot carbine. So yeah, all in all, I'm pleased with what I ended up with at the end of the day after 4.5 hours of tinkering. These ones I'm pleased with. They will become part of, definitely be the primary blasters used in my Hammershot loadout. I'll probably then, I might actually take these ones back down to stock for now, just to see. I do need to tinker with the other various, there's lots of other options that I still haven't tried. There's the full brass ones. I've got a couple of those from Out of Darts that I would like to give a try at some point. I've also never tried the metal Hammershot replacement cylinder, so I should probably give that one a try. And like I said, I've got 10 kilogram springs coming, I'm pretty sure. And I think they also have 12 kilograms, which, if you had the leverage, wouldn't be so bad. On a stock one, that's kind of rough. I do need to get my hands on some of Silver Fox Industries hammers. I've got one, I believe, in a Sweet Revenge, and I should probably upgrade the cylinder in that, since I do have a few more of the Out of Darts cylinders kicking about. A few other things. The just adding this spacer, which is available on Thingiverse, and I think they come with the Gavin Fuzzy kits as well, had about the same improvement as an 8-kilogram spring, honestly. As far as just a simple throw that in, it will eventually wear out your stock spring because pre-compression will eventually warp the spring to that much, and then it'll just go back to being whatever it was stock, and you'll need to, at that point, upgrade your spring. But this is something you can make this just using a bunch of washers. You can use a nut that you bore out the thread so that it'll fit. And that is by far the cheapest, simplest option that will give you a noticeable increase. So, yeah. The catch, or the rotation mech return spring, I replaced it with this tension spring that I believe came from a variety pack from Home Depot. I had 4 of them, and each one will get you 3 return springs. You cut it, then you'll have to bend down one of the loops because it needs to be about 1/3 this length. And that solved a lot of the problems I was having with the Out of Dart cylinders not always wanting to go back to the starting position for the rotation. But adding that heavier spring solved that no problem. So there you have it. Hopefully some of this was helpful to some of you. It's going to be a beast editing all 4.5 hours of this to try to get something useful. But I needed to get around to upgrading these, and I needed to test these, so it was definitely worth my time. Hopefully it was useful to any of you. Thank you for watching.